Hi everybody, welcome to your 15-minute writing workshop by Jesse Stong and Playwright's Workshop, Montreal. Hello. It's day 7,436 of quarantine with my 6-year-old twin boys. Thank you all for being here. I see a lot of familiar faces in the comments. Hello. Today we are talking about, oh good, made it last minute here. Today we're talking about emotional fragments of emotion. And it's going to be a really great activity for exploring, for writing sideways and writing around an emotion that you're working with. But it's also a great activity if you're a poet, if you're looking for a way to start a poem, or if you're looking for something a little more abstracted, you want to write something that's showing, not telling. And that's what this activity is all about. It's about showing, not telling. Nobody wants a character. Oh, good morning. Hello. Oh, so many people finally made it, some of my buddies. Nobody wants a character to come out and say, hi, I feel like I'm upset with you. I feel very mad right now. I feel disappointed in life. You are making me feel this way. Human beings don't talk about that. They're not even often aware of what they're feeling. They're just feeling it. And sometimes you have to clunk it out when you're writing a first draft. You have to write the obvious to get to what you're trying to say. But that's a really great thing to do. Go through your writing and look for a time where somebody says how they feel word for word. And that's a sign that you need to work on that. You need to show that emotion without telling it. So the first thing I want you to do, let's check our charity while you do it. Today's charity is the Food Bank of Canada, probably the most important charity, one of them in Canada. I was doing a lot of research on the weekend. Weekend? Was it a weekend? What is a weekend? About a lot of the extra relief work they're doing for COVID-19. So please donate to the food bank. If you send me a proof of receipt, even $5 donation, I'll read your work and I'll give you feedback for free. Just email it to me. Food Bank of Canada, doing a lot to make sure people are fed during this crisis. I want you to think of one emotion that's central to your story. If you have no story and you're starting from scratch today, just think of an emotion that you want to explore. And I want you to just write it down at the top of your page, one word if you can. I don't want any flowery, like an evocative feeling of ennui. It's no, it's evocative ennui is the emotion, right? Or angry. But be specific without being flowery. If it's anger or is it rage? Is it sadness or is it depression? Is it happiness or is it joy? So write down one word that's central to your story. Maybe it's central to a character. Maybe you don't know why. One emotion. Give you 30 seconds. Let's look at Fly. What's your emotion? Be specific. If you don't have any idea what you're writing about, just write about whatever you want. Any emotion. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. First, you're going to write down 6 sentences. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to tell you 2 at a time what to do. So don't overthink it. Just go with your gut. You're not stuck the way you started. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to write down 2 statements about how the world treats or feels or describes or defines that emotion. What are 2 statements about that emotion? And I don't want you to use the word of the emotion. So if your emotion is sadness, I want you to say, it feels very common in the world. The world tries to avoid it. I don't know, just think. You have 1 minute, 2 sentences that are true, in your opinion, about how the world defines or treats this emotion. Don't use the word, the emotion, okay? If you have any questions, write in the comments. 2 minutes, go. It feels like a big deal. It feels like people avoid it. It's caused a lot of wars through humanity. 2 sentences. "30 more seconds. Just write down the first 2 that pour out of you. Don't overthink it. "10 more seconds. 2 statements about how the world treats this emotion. Okay, finish that up. So they should be 1, 2 written right in a row as though you're writing like a poem kind of. So now the third line is going to be, third and fourth line are going to be 2 more sentences, 2 more phrases about how do you relate to this emotion. 2 things that are true about how you personally relate to this emotion. So if it was joy, I would say, I try to seek it every day. I try to share it with people around me. it's something that has a lot of meaning in my life, right? So try to think of 2 sentences about how you define or how you relate to this emotion. Write them one on top of the other. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go. 1 minute. It's just how you feel today. Don't use the word of the emotion. It feels like. If it's confusing or it feels unclear to me, write that down. It feels unclear to me. It feels blurry. It feels confusing. 30 more seconds. Ten seconds. 3, 2, 1. Stop. Hey, I don't think Mika's here today, but stop everyone, including Mika, who's not here today. Okay, so I want you to, the last thing is going to be, this is going to be maybe the hardest part, but just think about it. I'm going to give you 1 minute and 10 seconds. I want you to write 2 phrases. You've written 1, 2 about, what am I doing? 1, 2 about the world, 1, 2 about how you feel. Now 1, 2 sentences about your character's relationship to this emotion. And maybe you don't know what your character is yet, so just go with it. Who cares? What do you think is going to be your character's relationship? 2 more true statements. Your character's relationship to the emotion. You have 1 minute, 10 seconds. You don't have to write my character. You can say like, she feels it very often. She tries to avoid it. She's desperate to see it again. Don't overwrite it. Just write the true statement as clearly and truly as you can. 30 more seconds. It could be things that you just think they're going to feel. You don't have to know for sure. Ten seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so this is the hard part, okay? I really want you to do this fast. Don't overthink it, okay? You have 30 seconds to look at these 6 statements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I want you to try to number them in some logical order. And it doesn't have to make any sense to anyone but you, but it's like maybe from big to small, from true to false, from clear to unclear. Maybe there's some story you see, but just try to number them in some logical order that makes sense to you. If you can't figure that out, just then number them randomly, who cares? But if this was a journey or a story, what would come first? What would come last? What would be in the middle? Just try it for 30 seconds, number them. Don't overthink it. If they were being read, what would be the order? Which one would be last? Which one would really start it off well? Pretend it's a poem. "15 more seconds. Don't overthink it. You don't have to even do this part if you don't want to. Okay. So the last thing I'm going to ask you to do in 1 minute is I want you to get rid of all try to go through it and try to fragment it. So what I mean by that is I want you to get rid of conjunction words like and to and at and the. Try to get rid of all the smaller words that aren't carrying any weight. And try to maybe add some punctuation, maybe split up a sentence in half, or see what happens when you just fragment it, when you make it not just like 6 sentences in a row, make it weird and abstract. I'm going to do it too. I'm going to give you 1 minute, then I'm going to read mine. So I want you to just cut it around, fragment it, chop it into pieces. Pretend what I do with grade 3s is I get them to write it out, cut it out actually, and cut and paste it together. You're trying to get rid of little words that don't do anything, like to, and, the, at, we. Anything that's like taking away from the emotion. You're making a fragmented weird thing. If you get done early, type it into the comments and maybe I'll read one out loud. You have 1 minute, go. Just chop it around a little bit. I am speaking with your boys and I listen to you. Oh, he's on the phone with my boys, my father-in-law. Okay, so I'm going to read you mine, and then I want you to tell me, guess in the comments, what is the emotion I wrote about? And this is what I want you to do. You're going to read your fragmented poem thing to somebody, and you're going to get them to tell you what the emotion. So this was my 6 sentences. I'm not going to tell you what the emotion is, but I'll read it. See how I numbered it on the left? So it's like, her gift, her arrow, magical power, a human right, difficult to find, the connecting force, share. So that would be my poem. Try to guess what emotion I'm talking about. Put it in the comments. And what I want you to do is, that's like a starting point. That's not necessarily a great poem. It's not like some amazing thing. Maybe I read it pretty amazingly because I'm just that talented. But it's a starting point for a monologue or a poem or a moment. Rather than me saying the emotion, I explored it. I wrote sideways. I fragmented it. And we love that in theater. When someone comes out and says something weird and it has all this weight, emotional weight to it, right? So somebody can guess in the comments what they thought my emotion was. And then what I want you to do is I want you to do that. Read it to someone. Someone said pride. That's a great guess from Bradley. It's not pride, but that's great. So you want to listen. Don't tell people what your emotion is. Share it. Even share it in the comments after we post the video in 10 minutes. And it's love. It's closer. That's another guess. So it's the whole point is you want to listen to what people are guessing, because that's informing what are you really writing about. I was actually writing about, I don't want to blow it. I want one more guess, but I was writing about joy. Joy was the central emotion. Oh, strength from Emma Tebaldo, which is not an emotion. Okay. But the whole point is, you look at the in-between space, right? It's if people think it's about strength and love and pride, but I'm really writing about joy, I can really look at that. What's the relationship between joy and pride? I'm somewhere in that in-between space. What's the relationship between love and joy? It's my work is somewhere in between, right? Or maybe it's not about joy. Maybe my play is about love and I just kind of thought it was about joy, right? My story. So I want you to just keep doing that. Share your poems in the comments. Remember to, Facebook actually blocked me from sharing my videos for a while. So if you can really help me out and share it, that would be great. Show it, don't tell that you care with a share. I think we're right on schedule today. Oh my God. So please post your poems in the comments below after it goes up on the YouTube. And I'll respond to them too. The whole point of this is don't just write an emotion. Don't use an emotion to push the plot forward. Don't tell us what you're feeling. Show us what you're feeling. Whenever a character brings up an emotion, stop, write sideways. How do you feel about that emotion? How does the world feel about that emotion? And lastly, how does the character interpret that emotion? Thank you all very much. Please, please, please give to the food bank. It's really important. Imagine not having food in your fridge right now. It would be a pretty awful situation. So do even $5 helps. I'll see you all on Friday at 10:15. That's Jesse, over and out. Thank you all very much. I want to see your poem things on the share, so share it. Bye. Thank you. Bye, Tamara. Thank you. Oh, what am I doing? I can't even log off today. Oh my goodness. What a mess. Okay, thank you. Bye, everybody.